Hey and welcome to my channel. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about our first camping trip. We are a family of 4 with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and as much as I want to explore the wild camping here in Sweden, we decided to try a campsite first. Because especially with my 1-year-old, I have the feeling she will throw herself down a cliff or into the water in no time. So we will do wild camping, but in this video I talk a little bit more about the campsites here in Sweden. It was actually a 2.5 hour drive with a car from Stockholm in Örebro. Some of you probably know that area, maybe even live in that area, but yeah, that's where the campsite was located. So before I show you what the camp looked like, I wanted to talk a little bit about our experience. Unfortunately, it was actually raining, so I felt like it couldn't be worse during our first camping trip, and then it's going to rain. So that was a bit unfortunate. Before we went camping, I was a bit worried that maybe it would not be as much fun if it was raining all the time, but of course we still wanted to do it. And I would say we also have been quite lucky because most of the time it was raining during the night. It was a bit wet in the morning, but the actual rain was not that bad during the day, and we even had a very nice sunny day. But yeah, it was not as summery as I wished it would have been. But since I'm here to talk about all the different experiences, the good ones, the bad ones, although I wouldn't even say it was a bad experience. We still had a lot of fun. It just looks a little bit rainy. So I want to talk very briefly about 4 things I kind of noticed what is there at campsites here in Sweden and maybe applies specifically just to Sweden. So I want to go through these and then I will show you what it looked like. So the first thing I thought was there were a lot of camper vans, and I don't know, obviously I don't have the experience and I have been to 10-20 different campsites here in Sweden, but I thought it was a thing, you know, that there are a lot of camper vans instead of tents. So there were probably about 2/3 of camper vans and 1/3 of tents, and we belong to the tent people, but we were quite surrounded by camper vans, and you can tell that everyone was super prepared. They had little gazebos in front of their camper vans, so probably a community who is used to camping. And that's why I guess, you know, the camper vans give you a bit more comfort, and then it was also not bad for them if it was raining because they had a proper roof over their heads. And another thing I noticed was that there were a lot of Norwegians there, and that was very surprising. I never thought about it. It does make sense, you know, it's a neighboring country. Why not come to Sweden and camp in Sweden? I remember that there was a little bar or restaurant as well where they played live music, and they were actually addressing the Norwegian audience and playing some Norwegian songs, which were really cool, by the way, and you could see that the crowd was really happy about it. So there were a lot of Norwegians, and I remember our neighbors were also Norwegian. I didn't really talk to them. I don't know, I'm probably more Swedish than, you know, any other country. Like I'm not that small talk person. I don't start just randomly chatting to people, although I could, you know, it probably would have been nice to talk a little bit, but you know, I feel quite shy a little bit. We were basically just saying hello, and they were giving some balloons to the kids because they were walking over there all the time. But yeah, that's kind of the maximum interaction we had, although my daughter met a girl and they were playing together, so that was quite cool. So she made a little friend. So I want to talk about the campsite itself. It was really well organized. Of course, probably the opposite from wild camping, but you had everything there. It felt so good. You had toilets there and they were absolutely clean. You can tell that Swedes, probably Norwegians as well, really respect, you know, the environment. There were recycling bins. There was really everything there you needed. You had washing up kind of areas and kitchens even. We had a little, you know, cooker with us, but we could have also cooked in the kitchen. So it is made for super convenience. And not only that, it was really clean, and you could see that people were driving around mowing the grass or tidying up, you know, litter, picking up litter and things like that. And you could see that The toilets were regularly cleaned, the showers as well. So I have to say 10 out of 10 points for such a well-organized campsite. And I feel that is probably not the only campsite which is that well organized. And the last bit is probably no surprise, but it was super, super, uber duper kid friendly. And I guess that's also why we chose it. There were areas where kids could drive in like little cars. There were bouncy castles, although they were only up when it was dry. And we went there once. There were little shows and little activities, a little program for kids during the summer as well, which was really nice. There was a huge playground for the kids. I mean, the kids really, really loved it. And even if the weather wasn't that great, they never mentioned anything about the rain. They just saw, you know, the amazing amenities this campsite had, plus the other children, of course. They also had a game hall, which I wasn't a fan of at all. Then I feel a bit more closer to nature, where I think there shouldn't be like crazy attractions, you know, where you're super entertained like electronically. So there was a little game hall, which is fine, you know, especially there were some older kids, and I guess for them it's also really nice to have, you know, that attraction. Oh yeah, and also we chose that campsite because it had a really big water park just next to it, and it had an outside pool area which actually was free when you just camped there, and then you could also go inside, and it was like another adventure land for the kids. So that was another reason why we actually chose it. And I have to say that was a good decision because the kids absolutely loved it. If you're looking for anything to do here outside of Stockholm, like 2 hours away, then you should check out Gustavsvik and Lost City. So my conclusion of this first camping trip is that it was actually a lot of fun. And at the end, we were quite lucky because we had at least one really nice sunny day, which felt like summer, where we could be in the outside pools. The kids absolutely loved it. I mentioned it probably a few times here in this video, which is kind of the most important. I feel like we didn't have much time to relax or do anything else but, you know, prepare breakfast or food for the kids and play with them and provide them with the entertainment throughout the day. But one thing I actually found was a little bit challenging was the night. It got really, really cold, and the first night I think we all were freezing, and I know although I was aware of it, I still didn't manage to, you know, prepare properly for the first night. But it's because when we went to bed, and that was quite early, around maybe 9 p.m, it was an okay temperature, but then probably after midnight or so, it got really, really cold. But the second night and the third night was absolutely fine because we wrapped ourselves in like blankets and jumpers and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a first experience where we had to go through that. So we stayed 3 nights, and I think that was a good amount for our first experience. I was actually very happy that the kids slept through the nights because, you know, you heard the rain, which is maybe a good like white noise sound. But our neighbors at some point were quite loud as well, the Norwegians. They were just talking really loudly, but it was fine. Our kids still slept through the night, and it was actually really good for us parents because we went to bed quite early and then woke up when the kids woke up. So that was actually a very positive experience. But yeah, I'm looking forward to our next camping trip, and that's happening quite soon actually. And so hopefully I can compare that a little bit and make another video about our experience camping, and hopefully that will give me a bit more credibility, not only visiting one campsite but 2 campsites, and see what similarities they have. And fingers crossed there will be good weather. But yeah, if you have any tips for camping in general, leave a comment down below. I will be super grateful.